Okay, good morning. It is Long Hauler Wednesday. It is 11/18, November the 18th, Wednesday, and my man Shady Spencer is as grumpy as normal. We were just talking about this. How you doing, Shady?
Look, I get a phone call. My phone's blowing
This
up.
came back from a search.
Your phone's yelling at me too. It's just one of those mornings. I get woke up and it's like, hey, I need you to jump on the podcast right now. I'm like,
Now, I do blame that on my short-term memory. I do say that daily is like Groundhog's Day for me, to where it's like a reset, and it takes me a minute for my brain to catch up with what's going on. So, someone who used to be pretty well organized, it's hard for me to keep track of what's going on. But Wednesdays is our day that we, dedicate to long haulers, right? And we haven't really done one in about a month. So, first of all, welcome to the Dan the Messenger podcast. My co-producer here and my main man, Shady Spencer, is grumpy as ever. He is, I woke him up like a hibernation, basically, right? You're hibernating because it's cold up there, isn't it?
man, it's 37 degrees here in Kentucky right now. It is cold. All that Canada air needs to go back up to Canada. Jeez.
And I was, telling you that it was cold here, and you laughed because you're like, haha, what is it, 70 degrees? I said, no,
Yeah.
it got down to the 50s. Okay.
Southwest Florida, cold. That's a joke.
But for me, I'm not complaining it was cold. It helped me sleep last night. That's what I enjoyed about it. But yes, most Floridians, if it gets below 70 degrees, they act like it's a winter Arctic breeze.
Oh yeah, that's true, because I do remember going down and visiting over the last years around Christmas time, and walk around in shorts, flip flops, and a tank top, and messaging my friends and stuff back up north, and like, hey guys, Merry Christmas, and they're like, fuck you, it's cold. I'm like, it's 70 degrees down here, it's awesome. But yeah.
Yeah, and so we were gonna have, and I'm working on this, but we're still, let's be honest, we're a freshman show. We're working on our format. We're growing. We're learning. Right? Is that reasonable to say, Shady?
Sure. I mean, when you start a new endeavor, it takes some time to work out all the kinks.
And I did have a gentleman in Texas that is a clinician, frontline worker of this, that was going to jump on, and that's why I wanted you on, because it isn't just my voice. All right, people get tired of hearing me. And I'm sure they get tired of hearing all of us after a while when we talk about COVID-19, because we get that fatigue, right? That's in the media. They know that as, put a different name on it. It can be election fatigue, hospital fatigue. We just get tired. It's human nature. Is that correct? Would you agree?
Sure. And sometimes I just get fatigued because I'm tired, like right now.
And then I push you and go, hey, will you please jump on? And you do. And I feel bad right now that our guy's not on, but he's booked. Hopefully we can get him on, because Wednesday is dedicated to long haulers. Why have I been saying this all along, Shady? What's the point of the show is to help get information out there, correct?
Right. And, and there's so much going on right now all across the world with COVID-19. And, in America, we're starting to see every state, all 50 states, numbers are going back up. And, a lot of it has to do with, people are getting tired of being around it. People are tired of hearing about it. And they want to get back to their normal lives that we had, a year ago when COVID-19 was just kind of starting. So, a lot of the states are now putting restrictions, like even more restrictions. Ohio yesterday announced they're going on a 21-day lockdown and curfew. So I guess starting on Thursday, tomorrow, the state of Ohio will have a 21-day curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. You got to be home. No, nothing can be open. You can't go out. You can't do nothing for 21 days. Here in Kentucky, they're going to reevaluate the positivity rate, which I believe is up to almost 9%, I believe. So today at 4 p.m., Governor Andy Beshear is going to get on, and he's going to put some more recommendations out and increase the restrictions. Don't know exactly what those are going to be. He's kind of keeping those cards close to his chest. but it looks like it's probably going to roll back. Bars, restaurants, social gatherings, they're going to roll it back again, where you can't have more than 10 people in a gathering and this and that. So other states are already jumping on board. I know California, Los Angeles is saying they're going to have to start rolling back to phase 1. North Carolina's talking about rolling back to phase 1. So it's starting all over again, the cycle for, I guess this would be what, wave 3 now? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to really say where we're at this day and age. But I do know that the numbers are going up, cases are going up, deaths are going up.
Have I said anything other than this since day one about where this virus can go? Because we talk about R naught factor. Remember when I talked about the R naught factor?
Right.
So when you talk about the R naught factor, they've known this since the day they said this is a pandemic. They didn't even roll this out as an epidemic. They rolled it out as a pandemic. That in the epidemiologist, virologist world is a 5-alarm fire. That is it. There is no higher call than a pandemic. They told us from the very beginning that it was contagious. They told us that it was an R naught factor of 2.5 to 3.5. Do you know what R naught stands for? What it means?
I have no clue.
All right, so Shady, you get sick and you're test positive for coronavirus, COVID-19, okay? Now what they're saying is during your activation, your contagion period, which is between 2 to 4 weeks, that's when you're active with it, you can get between 2.5 and 3.5 people sick from it, okay? A normal flu is a 1-to-1. You catch it, you have an opportunity of getting someone else active with it. They've known this since day one. They stated it. I've stated it. It's not like I'm a genius. It's just simple math that they know of from previous pandemics, which why they compared the 1918 pandemic, because the R naught factor was 2.5 to 3.5. Nothing new. Science hasn't changed. The math hasn't changed. Now, they said originally, Shady, I don't know if you remember this, 15 days to slow the spread. Then it changed to 30 days to slow the spread, right? Do you remember that messaging?
Yep.
They never said stop. Ever did they say stop.
Right.
Mitigate is a word they kept using. Mitigate, meaning to kind of slow the spread, to try to control the spread, and to allow the hospitals to be able to handle the influx. That was the entire plan of this, why they were trying to control the outbreak. Do you agree with that? Is that pretty a fair assessment?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what you see on the news. This has nothing to do with we're going to get rid of the virus. It's we got to slow it down so that our healthcare workers and our hospitals can keep up and they don't get overrun.
So, in knowing that we can't run away from the boogeyman, it is going to spread. All we can do is the best offense for this, if you're not sick, is a good defense, right? We've stated this a dozen or so, maybe 500 times by now. The best offense is a good defense, correct?
Right. Yep. So you got to get, you got to stay healthy to remain healthy.
So vitamin D3 has been pretty much confirmed up and down in a lot of studies. I have plenty of factual information to show that D3 is not only a good early detection warning system for your immune system, but it does a lot of good. And zinc, those two right there, look up your dosing for child, look up your dosing for family, talk to your doctor, and zinc. Those two right there are going to help. Another thing that we know very consistently about America is 40% of our population is either diabetic, pre-diabetic, obese. We're basically the unhealthiest planet on the earth. Am I lying when I say that, Shady?
You mean the country? We're
Yeah,
unhealthiest country. Yep. No, that's true. And it all comes down to our diet. We like to, you compare our portion sizes to many other countries, and I've lived in several countries around the world, and we're one of the only countries that does free soda refills. You go to other countries, oh no, you drink your drink, guess what? You're buying another drink. There is no such thing as free refills in a lot of other countries, especially over in Europe. And right there, that one thing alone makes America fatter than almost every country out there.
All right, so we got that out of the way. It's not like we're making this stuff up. It's true statistics. We know that this virus is an opportunist virus, meaning if you have a compromised or a weakened immune system, it can wreak way more havoc than a very healthy individual. So the number one question I get pretty much daily is, what can I do to stop this? What do I do if I got it? Well, first of all, I would talk to your doctor and be an advocate for your own health. The protocols are getting out there, but they're still not across the board yet. They know in the study groups that the earliest you get treatment, the more effective it is going to be to get through this virus. All right. I've been sharing drugs and information, Shady, haven't I? Pretty
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah, I mean, you've got out there, you've done your research on certain medications, and you've kind of been a guinea pig with a lot of those medications as well.
And a lot of these medications are generic. Now, in the pharmaceutical industry, for a medication to get generic, it's got to be out there for a while. And basically, that means the pharmaceutical industry loses their kind of patent on it. They can't, have a monopoly, and they can't charge you extraordinary measures of money. So the medications that I have been talking about are on .gov NIH websites. That means they have been triple blind studied, they've been peer reviewed, and they have got the science behind the medication. Indomethacin, which is the very first drug that I shared, has been known since back in 2006, because the original 2002 coronavirus outbreak, they had 3 years to study up on it. And they found that indomethacin was a very potent antiviral shredder. Now, all that means, Shady, is the virus gets inside your cell, it takes it over. It's kind of like I say, going to the bar. And imagine me and you and 20 of your drinkingest friends, Ed Fish, let's say, we go into the bar and we get Ed behind the bar, and he's just pouring Jaeger bombs like he would. And now the whole gang, there's 100 of us that are just tore up. Well, then after you hijack the cell, that's what the virus is doing. It's just saying, make as many as me as possible. And then once you fill up the cell, it goes, okay, guys, party's over, go on. And then imagine another 100 of us just keep taking over cell after cell after cell, doing the same thing. Eventually, the body's going to have a hangover because it's taken over so many of your cells that your defense mechanism, your immune system, has to attack. You can't just allow drunks to run around, hijacking cells in your body. So that's what's going on. Indomethacin or chloroquine is what they call an antiviral shredder. They're like the special forces going in, sorry, no more fucking Jaeger shots for you guys, you're shut down. That's what an antiviral shredder does. It goes and shuts out the replicating factor of the virus. Is that understood? Does that make sense?
Sure. Yep.
All right. So now say you're 40% of America that's unhealthy. Now, statistically speaking, African American and the Hispanic population is 4 times more susceptible to this virus. Known issue, known fact. It's not made up. So, African American community and our Hispanic community, listen up. We're here to help. We're not here to cause anything other than giving you good information. Now you have a virus. Now, what normally happens when you get really sick? You go to the hospital, doctor, and they give you what? A Z-Pack.
Right. They usually, for virus, there's a difference between bacterial and viral. And bacterial, obviously, you can treat with antibiotics. Viruses don't really get treated to get rid of it. You treat symptoms. That's my understanding. That's how the doctors have explained it to me.
So a Z-Pack or antibiotic, or hell, penicillin, they're also kind of like the backup for your immune system. So let's just say you've got 100 people riding in your club, they don't want to leave anymore. Well, it's like calling in the backup for your immune system, because your immune system can only produce so many white blood cells and can only do so much before you have a lot of underlying issues. So the antibiotics and the Z-Pack kind of give it a little backup. The viral shredder goes in there and stops replication, and it helps your body's immune system fight this thing down. It doesn't beat it, it fights it down. So the next thing that they're using, because this virus works on a micro level, and it causes microthrombosis. You ever get a black eye, Shady?
I've had several black eyes in my day.
You ever see, because you DJ too, you ever see that white girl wasted where they take their shoes off and they slip and they, bust their ankle and it's always black and blue the next day?
Yep.
All right. So that's called thrombosis. That is the red blood cells that have been destroyed pooling. And that's why you see the black and, discoloration. Well, what's going on a micro level is this virus is attacking anywhere your ACE2 receptors, meaning your blood cell travels through your sealed your sealed system, your arteries and your veins. And well, when it's traveling with blood cells, that means it's carrying oxygen and glucose, right? You get that? Oxygen and glucose, because you need to have a spark and you need energy on all your organs to survive. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yep.
So while this virus, which is 10,000 times smaller than a red blood vessel, is traveling through your entire pulmonary system, it's hitting your organs, your kidneys, your lungs, your heart, soft tissue areas, your bowels, your linings, inner linings, and it's smart enough to hide within small, because it's 10,000 times smaller than one red blood cell. Now, if I gave you a dollar and I times it by 10 grand, that's a hell of a return, isn't it?
Sure.
So reverse that. You know what I mean? That's how small it is on a micro level. So it goes around and causes some internal damage. And if it's not being treated, it causes microthrombosis. That means they cannot see it. You remember CTE? Remember that movie Concussion?
Yeah. That was with Will Smith.
Yeah, and that was based off of a doctor that basically found out that repeated beating your head in causes CTE, what they call it, or TBIs. Back in the day, we called them bell ringers, right? You got your head knocked in pretty good. As kids, we're like, wow, you got your bell rung.
Yeah, that's when you get hit in the head, and all of a sudden you're boo, that ringing sound, and you kind of lose all your sense
Because your brain's in a sealed cavity, and even that has red blood cells, and you cause some damage in there, well, you get some inflammation. This is why we're talking about long haulers having brain fog. This is why long haulers are having a lot of issues with fatigue, because the brain, even though it's only 3 pounds, Dr. Rizal and I talked about this, it takes 30% of your energy, your glucose. So 70% is going to your organs, and the other 30% goes to your brain. Does that make sense? You follow me here, Shady?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously, your brain is one of the most important organs in your body. It's the computer that runs the whole body.
And two things happen. So a lot of doctors are given Z-Packs, and the Z-Pack goes in your stomach, and that attacks your probiotics, your good healthy gut cells.
Right. So antibiotics go through, and it's just like it says, antibiotics. So it goes through and kills all bacteria, everything, good and bad.
So then, after you've had a good dose or 2 doses, hell, I've had 5 doses of the azithromycin over this period since I've had it. And the only way I counteract it is putting in good probiotics, which Derek and I and you talked about the other night, of a good healthy gut. If you get the probiotics back in your stomach, it's going to help your stomach fight off, infections and viruses.
Right.
Now, if you don't have good probiotics in your stomach, your brain needs that too. And your brain and your stomach are connected. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
So now if your probiotics, your gut's out of health, your brain's going to start getting infected, your brain's using more energy, you're going to get brain fog, you're going to get fatigue, and it can cause more underlying issues. Is that, I mean, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible.
Really, a 10-year-old could figure this out. If you eat bad food, you feel bad. If you eat good food, you feel good. That's how you break it down.
Okay. And then the virus is real. If you are tested positive and you've not gotten onto a type of drug cocktail, it can continue on in your body, wreaking havoc. There are different strains. So some people are like, well, how come I got it and I don't even feel anything? Well, you have a very good immune system. You have good genetics, and you're lucky. Good for you. There's no one asking anyone to get sick or continue to be sick. Who in the hell would want that on anybody? Would you want that? I wouldn't want it.
I don't know. There's a few people I wouldn't mind seeing sick, but
Okay. Well, hey,
that's because I'm grumpy and bitter.
But I'm not. I'm just trying to help. I really am. And I catch hell from all sides, right? I really do. But if you just go back to science class and you go back to A&P 1 and 2 and you start understanding basic biology of the human system, how it works, it's quite simple. Don't let these people keep misinforming you and throwing you off the path. Now, Shady, I dare anybody in the audience to do this. Google the last time they've had a vaccine for a virus. Please, I beg you. Do you know of any?
I have no clue.
Okay. It's just a very simple question, and I ask any doctor that wants to come on, any epidemiologist, any virologist, it's open. There's nothing on this show that we do to gotcha moments. It's all about let's talk about it, right?
Right, and I would assume, and I haven't looked this up or anything, but I would assume that well, let's see, there's a difference between a I'm trying to think of the right words here. So I would say there's a flu vaccine, but that's immunization, which is a vaccine. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know the real answer to this.
I do, but I'm not asking it for being a smartass. I'm asking it because they know this. They know this. The 1918 flu virus, guess what? It's still out there. Hasn't gone away. All right. What happens is a symbiont, which is a virus because you need a host, usually weakens over time. Everyone knows what, well, maybe not. Who knows what they teach in school anymore, but the herpes simplex virus is in 68% of the entire population of the planet. Did you know that?
I mean, I kind of had a feeling that it was high, but it's just our bodies have kind of grown to accept the virus into our systems.
And another 400 million have type 2. Why do I bring up the herpes virus? Like, yeah, what the hell does that have to do with the price of tea in China? It's a virus. It is a contagious virus. It's been around for a long time. Hell, we were kids and we heard about it. Yep. And we are dealing with it. 68% of the planet has it. All I'm saying is this virus isn't going to go away, the current virus, and it has mutated and changed. There are different strains. How do I know that? The epidemiologist and virologist group that I was in way back in March, I literally listened to that doctor talk about the 36 different strains that they knew about. Does it mean it's bad or good? Who knows? No one really has a quite handle on where this thing's going at the moment. We do know that it is still very contagious. Agreed, Shady? Is that pretty?
Well, obviously, when you see the positivity rates all across America going up.
So it's spreading. Are the death rates still low? Yes, they are. And I pray daily they stay low. I don't want to see anybody, American or anywhere in the world. I don't want to see someone pass from this. As a long hauler, I suffer and I get treatments 5 days a week. It seems like every time I handle one issue, like the brain fog or the kidney issues or the lung issues, or feel like I'm having a heart attack or have a mild stroke or have seizures, these aren't fun things to be dealing with. Now, am I a rarity? No, because there are long hauler groups. Shady, have you seen any of the long hauler groups on Facebook alone?
I've not personally in any of the long hauler groups,
but they're out there. Am I making that up?
No. I mean, I've seen some people post screenshots of different conversations that have gone on in some of these groups.
So I have been in over a dozen all over the world, and I see daily at least 50 posts a day from over 500,000 people. And they're scared, they're frustrated, they're fighting workman's comp. These are frontline workers. People are about to be homeless because they can't work. These are legitimate issues, and this is why I push harder on the show, because I just want these people to have a voice. I'm not trying to scare the rest of the population. I'm trying to educate them. We're not lepers. We're not walking around with the boogie-doogie plague. We've got inside our system is we are no longer contagious after the 30 days. It's just like anybody else. It's like having cancer that operates in stages. The earlier treatment you can get, there's less problems and signs and symptoms you're going to deal with. It's just that simple. Waiting for a vaccine that has what were we up to in this vaccine? We were at 90% last week.
95.4, something like that.
Oh, we're getting there. And they're on a very small sample size. They really, the media is killing us. They tell us data, peer reviewed, safety, triple blind studies, and then they rush something that has never been done before and are acting like it's the safest thing since um, you know Trojans. I don't know. I really don't have an answer to what's going on with this rush to the vaccine without having the data behind it, true data.
You know what it comes down to? Money. It's what it really comes down to. And, the media has put this fear in the world, and the the results of that fear is people are like, get a vaccine, get a vaccine, get a vaccine. So now all these companies are forced to push something through that hasn't truly been tested enough to know if it's effective.
Now, you have been in radio and entertainment for over 20 years. I would say you have a very good connection with a mass swash of the public audience. You see different points of view, and I think we're both saying the same thing. The American people, for the most part, ain't having it. They don't want nothing to do with this vaccine right now because they're scared. Is that a fair assessment?
That is a fair assessment. I mean, personally, myself, I don't necessarily want to get this vaccine until it has been proven that it works and that it's not going to, 6 months later, all of a sudden you have different issues from the vaccine. Now, I'm not one of those anti-vaccinator thing. My kid, I sent him in to get all of his shots when he needed them. I went, got all my shots when I needed them. But those shots have been going around for decades. They've done lots and lots of testing on these. Something new pops out and it's rushed through. You don't really know what you're getting because this could have side effects 5 years down the road, and we don't know yet.
And as being prior service, you and I both got in that line, and I don't know how many shots they gave us, but that peanut butter shot they can stick in their ass because I don't know how many.
That's one thing, they take that little silver gun and all right, line up, pull your shirt sleeve up, and they just go down the line, pop, 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 and they hit, 100 soldiers in 2 minutes, and you have no clue what they're putting in you. And it's not just one. You're getting hit with those little gun air blaster shot things, whatever they're called, 6-7 times in a 10-minute span, and you have no idea what they're pumping in you. Hell, I had the anthrax shot. Anthrax. I'm like, come on. And
they didn't even tell us until after they gave it to us.
So I remember when I was in the Army, they gave us the first round because I believe it was three or four. I don't remember now. It was 3 or 4 series of shots you had to get for anthrax. And, the first time you come through, they gave you those shots. And you were like, damn, what was that? All of a sudden, man, your arm swelled up. You thought your arm was going to fall off. It started discoloring. Skin started flaking off. Your hair started falling out. And you're like, well, I don't want that shit anymore. And guess what? You got 2 or 3 more coming. And man, it's the same thing. And eventually, I think they realized that anthrax shot didn't keep you from getting anthrax. So it's it's the same situation.
They called it Gulf War syndrome back in the day, and GI crud is something any vet has known about. It isn't a matter of if you get sick; it's when you get sick in basic. And that peanut butter shot, no one will ever forget the peanut butter shot because concrete became your biggest asset. Literally, you'd find a corner and rub your ass for about 15 minutes trying to get that thing worked out of your butt. Remember that?
Man, your entire butt cheek turned into like one big giant rock. It would hurt so bad if you touched it. Man, you dropped to your knees. I remember all those shots. I mean, that was forever ago. That was in '96 when I got all that. But it's like you said, in basic training, it's not a matter of if you're going to get sick. It's when you're going to get sick. I was in oh gosh, what they call it? I was a holdover for almost an entire month because all of basic training platoons were full during that time. So we had to sit and wait until we could get assigned into a basic training platoon, or company. So yeah, I sat there and got all my shots and let all that stuff just kind of fester in my body. Day one, I finally get assigned to a company, and I get strep throat day one, 103 fever, just dying. And what do they tell you? It's get back out there and keep training. That's really what it comes down to.
Now, this is a little TMI for me, but it's really true. You remember those green blankets?
Oh yeah, the wool blankets.
Yeah. Well, I had a girlfriend at the time, and somehow I managed to catch the crabs. And I'm like, they're in basic training because of
Wow.
those damn blankets. So, you catch a lot of things while you're in. You learn how to deal with a lot. And as someone and two people now that can talk to you from experience, vaccines can work. They can also wreak a lot of havoc on you. And we're not anti-patriotic. We want to get through this. I'm advocating as a long hauler. I want to work with our governor, Governor DeSantis. I'll work on a national level as a long hauler. I'll represent long hauler voices. You get me before epidemiologists and biologists that are really experts in their field and say, yes, we have the data. Let's take a look at it as a group. Let's agree on this as a group. Let's not rush this. Let's make sure it's going to be good for Americans, good for people all over the world. And then we'd be more than glad as a patriot to stand up and say, yes, we're not anti-vaccine, but we sure as hell aren't going to be test guinea pigs for us. I sure as hell don't want to see my daughter get it. I know you don't want to see Skylar get something that's untested, right? It's not so much that we are anti. It's Americans have a right. We have freedoms. We, the people, have formed this country, and we, the people, will not allow the country to push something on us that is just being rushed because Big Pharma wants to get their piece of the pie. Would you agree upon that? Is that fair?
No, I agree with what you're saying, and I'm not telling people don't go out and get this vaccine. What I am saying is, let's figure out how effective this vaccine is going to be, and is it safe long term before you just run out there. And I get it. There's people who, my kid still hasn't gone to school because he sits here at home. And his grades are suffering from that. He's one of those kids that needs that one-on-one interaction with teachers and other kids. And there's a lot of parents out there who are like, oh my gosh, we got to get these kids back in school. Wait, there's a vaccine? Oh, pump all these kids full of this vaccine. Then we can send them all back to school and they'll be safe. It's not necessarily the case. Let's get all the research before we just throw this vaccine out to the masses.
Now, we're going to talk devil's advocate here in a minute. We're going to take a quick break on Hope for Humanity. Actually, let me rephrase that. On the Dan the Messenger podcast with Shady Spencer, the co-host and producer, brought to you by Hope number 4 Humanity 2020.com. We're going to talk about service industry. We're going to talk about businesses. We're going to talk about the importance of both sides of this. As a small business owner, as people that have been in the nightclub industry, we understand the importance of survival. We understand the importance of what's going on, and we care. So we'll be right back on the Dan the Messenger podcast, brought to you by Hope number 4 Humanity 2020.com. Welcome back to the Dan the Messenger podcast, brought to you by Hope number 4 Humanity 2020.com. Joining us is our co-host and producer, Shady Spencer. We were just talking about vaccines. We were talking about efficiencies of what can happen with an untested or unproven inoculation. And, both of us being prior service and having been given certain vaccines that we weren't even basically known to give until we got it. We know what can happen. So we're just trying to talk from experience. Now let's talk about the entertainment side of this, because it's wreaking havoc on the entire industry. Would you agree with that, Shady?
Well, as I sit here on my couch with no work, yeah, that's pretty much what it's doing. It's a cycle that goes on. So, if your bars shut down, how many people are affected with that? It's not just, oh, you can't go out anymore. It's all the people that rely on a paycheck, the service industry people. You've got bartenders, security guards, bar backs, cleanup crews, DJs, dancers. You've got so many different aspects of people who rely on one nightclub to pay their bills. And if you shut down all of the bar industry, and then you shut down all the restaurant industry. That is a huge, giant chunk of the working force in America.
And in Florida, we are a hospitality state. You know what that means,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure. I mean, it's a tourist spot. So, I mean, people come there to experience things they can't experience in their own, where they, in their own states or cities where they live.
Now, I can tell you, as a small business owner of someone who owned one of the most famous nightclubs in Fort Myers, I dealt with the 2009 pandemic. It was nothing like this. I remember them saying, stay out of clubs. I seen my business get destroyed. And then the city came in September of 9/11 and shut us down for a month. That 1 month of being shut down cost me $150,000. I lost another $36,000 in lawyer fees. I lost half my staff. I lost my house, my boat. I lost everything I owned to try to get that place open back up. Once we opened back up, it wasn't like the fish bowls prior. The after fish bowls was the hangover of losing probably easily half of our foot traffic. Our revenue went from 25 to 30,000 a week to about 8,000 a week, and everyone aboard suffered. I had 25 staff members. So I get it. I have friends that own multiple restaurants in downtown Fort Myers. I have friends that own a ton of different, industries as far as solar and AC and all that. And no one's trying to shut us down per se. There is no right answer or wrong answer in the Kobayashi Maru. You remember the Kobayashi Maru? Shady?
I have no idea. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Star Trek. Captain Kirk. He in number 2, and even in the reboot, they brought this up. It was a no-win scenario. Basically, you're surrounded by the bad guy. All your systems are failing. How do you get out of the situation? And there is a no-win. It's called the Kobayashi Maru, and Kirk beats it. The only one who ever beat it. And
Gotcha.
they never really tell you how he beat it. The second one, they tell you more so. He cheated. Basically, he cheated the system. And I'm not saying this is a no-win scenario. I'm saying it's a very complicated matter. And it's going to take a lot of high-minded, a lot of people who are working together to get through this, right? Creative minds. Maybe, online nightclub. Maybe make some things where your bartender can do virtual bartending per se, show up and tell you how to make your own favorite cocktail. I don't have all the right answers during this, but I know that we will get through this. We got through World War I. We got through World War II. My grandmother was on the assembly lines while my grandfather was fighting in Germany. You know what that's like.
Yep.
You weren't in an active war, but you've been in military. And right now, this is an all-out war on our survival, meaning we have to take it serious. We have to be strong as Americans, and we have to get through this together. Pretty simple message. Is that complicated, Shady?
Yeah, but it's easier said than done, because America has we as Americans, we've kind of adapted to a general state of living. Our when we get shook up and our things get moved around, our routines get changed, we freak out.
And we've been freaking out. I mean, it's 20, we say it's 20, now it's just simple. It's 2020. And we all know what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, what does the opening of our show have? You say hurricanes and fire tornadoes. There is no other year that we've lived as adults, except our grandparents who were around for World War II and the Depression. They could even fathom what we're going through at this moment. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, this is a once in a generation event that happens.
And all we can do is keep our heads together, keep talking about this, working together as a community to get through this. Though I don't have a magic pill. Do you have one?
I wish. Well, the government thinks they've got the magic pill, but we'll find out.
Now, we're not anti-government, by the way. I'm not saying screw the government. I don't care who our president is or isn't. I don't care who the governors are. There is a system in place to govern our entire country on a local level, on a state level, on a national level. All I'm advocating for is for some people like us that are long haulers that have a good enough amount of experience with this to have a voice of opinion. Does that sound fair, Shady? Am I sounding like a radical?
No, I mean that's our that's our given rights too. We get the freedom of speech. We can get out there and say what we think. So and no one can stop us. Other countries, you can't do that.
Well, Facebook apparently likes to do it.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, people get on and they use Facebook for an agenda, but when it all comes down to it, it is still a platform where you can get on there and express yourself freely.
And we try, and there's no, we're not knocking social media. We need it. We need Twitter. We need all those socials to keep us connected. So how can I find you, Shady? Audience
Uh,
members.
well, if you want to look me up on Facebook, just type in Shady Spencer. It'll pop up there. I've also got a fan page out there. You can type in Spencer Radio. That's a lot of my radio stuff that I do on Instagram, Twitter, and all those. It's I am Shady Spencer. So if you want to look me up, add me, follow me. Get on there and we'll interact a little more.
Now we did have a little news last night. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but we're going to get a video that was put out there from friends of ours as a friendly challenge to our man Shaquille O'Neal, and hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully that comes to play, because we're going to have a machine gun preacher, Sam Childers. You're going to be down in Florida and at the end of February. Hopefully, you're going to have wind on your face and join a bunch of brothers and the machine gun preacher for a really cool event, raising charity for Sam's charity, for the children in Africa that are also dealing with this. Now, America, we're going through it, but you got to understand, in East Africa alone, between 43 to 48 million children are probably going to pass next year just from starvation and not getting medicine. So we care on this show. Our hearts are as big as they possibly can be. Even though we don't have a pot to piss in, my bank account, I think, is negative $25 today. What's your bank account? I think we should play a game.
I don't like this game because that just stirs up more shit in my life, to be honest. When I pay a bill and then I go back and I go, oh crap, I didn't have enough to really pay that bill. And you're like, oh boy, well, I got to keep the phone turned on, so I got to pay this bill. So you're trying to well, I'll split it and I'll pay half now and I'll pay half next week. But you damn well know next week you ain't going to have it to pay next week either. So I don't like that game. No, you can keep that game.
I mean, it's one of these things. After a while, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. So I just prefer to laugh over it, because what else can I do? What else can we do?
Over the last couple months, I literally have cried so much that I started laughing. There's been times, I've been on some medications and everything with my surgery and this and that, and man, medications alone, they start messing with your brain a little bit too. And there's been times where I'm sitting here on the couch watching TV, and for no reason whatsoever, I'll just start crying. And I'm like, why am I crying? I don't even know why I'm crying. And then I get pissed off because I'm crying. Then I'm yelling. I'm the only person in the house, and I'm yelling at myself, just be a man, stop crying. And, then you start laughing because you don't even know why all of it started in the first place. So, yeah, no, the emotional roller coaster over this last year has been absolute crazy.
Now, women are going to be laughing at us, going, "Ha ha ha!" Now you know what we feel like 3 or 4 days out of the month.
Oh,
But,
see, you went there. I wasn't going to go there.
well, I'm just saying, because our mom squad, they would laugh at us all day long, like, "Ha ha! You guys are having a hard time. You should have our day once a week."
Yeah.
The three kids making them crazy all day long, coming home to the husband being crying and grouchy, and so that's why Mom Squads is as important as Bike Lives Matter, as important as this show. Like, we're all part of the same group trying to get messaging out to unite and help us through these times. So Mom Squad, shout out to them, because Mel was very happy with what they did last night for their show. Bike Lives Matter. Like, we're going to be rolling this stuff out so we can keep building our ponds. We got a couple really big guests, not big guests, but meaning good guests coming on the show this week. We got our guy from the William Byrne. He makes those crazy hats that are customized that are all these country stars are wearing now. Did I show you any of those yet, JD?
Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures of them, and I think, and I don't know for a fact, but I'm almost positive. So there's an artist that I know here, and he's a friend of our MC club, our motorcycle club, Struggle Jennings.
Yes,
And
yes,
I'm almost positive. I think I've seen him with one of those hats.
yes. He just took it to him last week. I know that
Gotcha.
because
Okay.
he told me. Yeah,
Yep.
Jennings and what's Waylon's
It's
nephew.
it's Waylon's grandson, I believe.
And Yellow something's got. I mean,
Yellow Wolf. Yep.
yeah, Yellow Wolf's got a hat. So this is a pretty cool dude, man, and he's got a good story to tell. So that's our Nashville connection. Um, we also got a guy coming on from Tactical Society. He I might
That's
be
the guy. That's the guy who makes those like bulletproof backpacks.
yes, the
Yeah.
one that my friend Mac, most people know him from the Babylon Boys, hooked me up with. But not only does he do the backpacks, but he also does private ear holder. What's the word I'm looking for?
CCW.
Yeah, he trains people to get their
The concealed weapons permits.
yes. So he does a lot of good things with the society. It is our what is it? Our Second Amendment right to bear arms.
Yeah, we have the right to bear arms. Yeah, each state has different laws, as you know, but like here in Kentucky, it's an open carry, and you don't need a permit to carry a concealed weapon anymore. But you know, if I was to cross the state line, like say into Ohio, then I obviously can't conceal carry a weapon without a permit. So you know, you get these permits. It's so you can cross state lines, so you can exercise your right to bear arms.
So we have a little bit of entertainment. We have some information coming up. We have some really good guests at the end of the week. This is always dedicated to long haulers. I'm sorry that our frontline work wasn't able to come on at the moment, but will be getting them on, I promise you, because your voices need to be heard, and we're trying to find solutions to problems. Thank you for tuning into the Dan Messenger podcast. Shady, thank you for getting up early. I know it's rough.
Man, I am not a morning person, you know, and I did, you know, morning show on radio for a lot of years, but that was the one thing I despised the most. If I get up before 10 a.m., I'm cranky. I'll be cranky all day now. So, you know,
I poked the bear.
I'm telling you, so you might see me out there later. If somebody knocks on my door today, oh, I am definitely going to exercise my Second Amendment right. You better get off my lawn. I'll be standing there with a shotgun waiting. So, no, that's not that bad. But yeah, I'm not a morning person at all.
Well, thanks, brother, man. I know. And then you're going through a lot, man. You're recovering. You got your rehab. You're hurting. The audience doesn't know a lot of things that both of us are going through when we're doing this. It's a labor of love. None of us are making a dime off of this. This is really a message of hope for humanity. That's why we created the charity, hope4humanity2020.com. If you want to be a sponsor of our show, if you're a patriot, if you like what we're talking about, reach out to Shady or myself or Melanie Kopko. I'll be more than glad to bring on sponsors because it's going to help the cause. It's going to help us pay some bills, and you're going to help support a show that's really trying to do good. Is that a fair assessment, Shady?
Sure, and you know, and if you just want to make a donation, go to Hope, and it's the number 4 humanity2020.com. There's a donate button on there. Click on that. It's a tax write-off. I'm just saying, so you get that money back from the government. But get on there, make a donation, so we can keep this podcast going.
Now we're working on swag. I need to get your face done up and some other stuff, Mel. Like, I need to get us all some of our own swag so people can order that too and show support. Hell, even a simple Hope for Humanity shirt can be enough. Just give us another couple of weeks and we'll get it out there. It'd be a good Christmas present. I'm trying. I'm working my brain, but it's failing me right now to come up with good ideas to help us generate revenue for the charity so we can help people. So I know that's part of your brain too, Shady. And I know Gentry's gave us some little ideas. If you guys want to make some donations to us so we can do some giveaways, if you want to help us build our social media platforms up, Hope for Humanity 2020's Facebook. Dan the Messenger is on Facebook. Shady Spencer, I find your public page is what one more time?
Just type in Shady Spencer and y'all pop right up.
So like any of us, share any of our podcasts, join us. If you want to become a guest on the show, all you got to do is reach out to any three of us, me, Shady, or Mel, We've got 3 different platforms. If you want to be a mom squatter, jump on for Melanie. If you want to talk about Bike Lives Matter stuff, Shady's already got the show in production. They'll be more than glad to hear from anybody. Harley Davidson, you need to be jumping on board. We got a tour coming out. There's a lot of things that we're going to be a part of. The Machine Gun Preacher, Sam Childers, they're shooting his sequel next year. What do you think we're going to be a part of? We're going to be part of solutions.
Yep. So, I mean, again, it takes money to keep these things going, and that's really what we're doing. Our begging cup is out. Just donate. Like I said, it's a tax write-off. You don't lose anything. You give us a few bucks, a few $100, a few $1,000. I'll keep the number going higher, but you're going to get the paperwork, and you're going to be able to write that off on your taxes, and you get it back at the end of the year. So why not give us a little bit of your money now? You're going to get it back from Uncle Sam later. And
you can be a patriot. You can help be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. You can understand that we don't have an agenda other than we the people helping the people. And Shady, even though you're grumpy and frustrated and you're enjoying that cold weather, we have been talking behind the scenes about possibly getting you down to Florida for about a year to help with the charity, to be a part of another radio station, and also maybe be part of Shack Food Radio. We talked privately, me and Gentry and you, just for a minute yesterday, but I know what your value is. I know you're one of the baddest mofos in the business. Even when you're grumpy, I would take you 7 days a week and twice on Sunday against 99.9% of the people out there when it comes to industry music, when it comes to personality, when it comes to your heart, and just you're an overall good fucking dude. And if I was a radio station, if I had a bigger platform and I had a pocketbook, I'd be writing you a check today saying you're hired. I'm just saying. And that's not that's my professional opinion. That's not my private opinion. That's someone who's been in the nightclub industry for over 20 years. It's someone who knows marketing, who knows what people like in the nightclub industry, what listeners listen to, because that's what I would listen to. For someone who did a lot of live broadcasts, I would look for the best radio talent I could to be a part of it. The Big O, Big Mama, you're right on the front lines of being them, if not better, in my eyesight, because your personality, you care about your community, you connect with your audience, and you're just a fucking good dude. It's about time you catch a break.
Hey, I caught a break on my knee, but
Zombie leg.
I appreciate those kind words. And here's the thing. I've got to where I'm at because of hard work, dedication, and staying true to my thoughts and my beliefs. And that's really what it comes down to is you work hard and your rewards pay off. But with the way the times are nowadays, everybody out there, everybody feels like they need to catch a break. And I just sit back and I wait because I know my time's coming. So that's really what it's that hurry up and wait. You remember that in the Army, hurry up and wait. Well, that's really where I'm at now. Is I'm in the waiting phase. So eventually things will come my way.
Now you are open to the idea of coming down to Florida. Is that correct?
Look, here's the thing. I won't shut down any opportunity if an opportunity arises and it is the best situation for myself, my family, my friends. Then I'm not going to turn something down because it's maybe not the ideal spot. It comes down to really what is best for me to keep my life going and to provide a better life for my family as well.
And, I humbly say I honored that you came on the show as a producer, that you come on as a co-host, that you would dedicate your time towards this, because it is a labor of love. It's not a labor of getting rich, because there ain't no money in this. It's a labor of helping. And I hope that there's a station manager out there that's listening going, I got to take this guy while I can, because even though there's a lot of people on the free agency market, you are head and shoulders the 99.9, that 1%, that 0.1% that I think has that spark that people need. And I'm humbled when you come on. I'm not like this is just Dan the Messenger because that's the name of the show, but having talent is what makes the show elevate to the next levels. And you are a key essential portion to the charity, to the show, and to the audience. And right now, like I said, I got negative $25 in my account. I'll probably be negative 200 before this week's over with. And I would pay, if I could pay your bill right now to get your internet back on so we can get these shows up, I would do it in a heartbeat. And that's one thing you guys could do as an audience member. You want to donate a little bit of money so we can pay Shady's bills, so we can get internet on and get these shows up faster, and we can get some sponsors on. There ain't no shame in our game. I got 5 cups out right now and saying I'll take a quarter, a penny, a dime, a nickel. It'll all add up because we need help. We're trying to help you. All we do is ask for $5, $1. Anything you can donate will help us right now. Am I being honest there? I mean, can I say
Yeah. No, I mean that's really it. Anybody who knows me, and I've worked every day since I was 14 years old, and me not being able to work right now. I mean, it's not because I don't want to work, and trust me, I'm bored out of my fucking mind right now, sitting here. I'm literally like on the TV is Jerry Springer. I turn on the TV and start watching court shows. That's how freaking bored I am. I want to go back to work, but physically I can't yet because I can't get up, I can't walk around, I can't move. So until my knee gets healed up to where I can start physically moving around again, I'm kind of stuck. And this is the first time in my life where I haven't had a job and had income coming in, and man, it's weird, it's depressing, and there are some people who just don't want to work because they're lazy or don't want to work because they don't want to deal with establishment. But I'm not that person. I want to work, man. If I could have a job and pay my bills, that would make my life so much easier. But it is what it is, and until I can heal up and finally get out and walk around, I've lost radio gigs, and I've had good severance packages, I've had shitty severance packages, and the thing is that even when I had my severance packages, and I had non-competes where I couldn't work for other media companies, you have to wait those 6 months because you can't start working for a competing media company till that contract runs out. And what did I do? I went out and I did DoorDash. I did side jobs. I hustled to where I still had money coming in. But that's one thing I can't do right now is I can't get out there and I can't hustle and I can't do side jobs because I got a busted ass knee right now. So, it's like I said, it's depressing, but
we just had someone jump on, and I kind of put an open invite to the group audience. So I want to welcome Sean Clarke onto the podcast. Sean, I don't know anything about you, so welcome to the audience. I see your smiling face today. Let me make you a pin video so I can see. How you doing today, Sean?
Good. How you doing?
Well, we just talk for a living right now. That's about all we can do. Welcome to the show. How do I introduce you? And what brought you on today?
So I was invited into the group by Gunther many months ago into that COVID-19 research group, basically just because I made a few comments on his Twitter feeds. I'm not as well versed as a lot of the people that are on there, but what I would bring, you could say, is like the person on the ground with a lot of experience. I was a medic in the military for 20 years.
Awesome.
And
they call you Doc, probably, didn't they? A lot of your men probably called you Doc. Yes, I got it. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I was also, for 15 years, I was trained as an allergy immunology technician. So like anything from providing allergy shots, like the immunotherapy, and even all the diagnostic testing for allergies, anything from your trees, grasses, and weeds to venom stings. So
no, well, let's stop for 1 second. That group that you're talking about, Gunther, that's a pretty badass group that you're in. That's some very, very, very intelligent, hardworking.
I know.
Right. When I say I have people that know what they're talking about, am I lying?
Oh, no.
These are experts.
Yeah. And so what I just brought was just, hey, I just being in that field for so many years, just wanting to understand what's going on and to be, I don't know, to not be too rude about it, but call out all the bull crap. Um, that's what I would do all the time. Like people would say things, even when I was in the military, it's like, oh, hey, this is wrong or right, or this is right, this is wrong. And I would always tell them, like, follow the science, you know? It's like,
You're not a Joe Blow off the street.
say again?
You're not someone who's just an idiot. You have some background, you have medical training, and you have expertise that can lend to the messaging of what we're trying to accomplish. Correct?
Well, one of the things I was also trained in was disease mitigation, disease prevention, and disease avoidance. And you're taught that as a medic from the very beginning, how to stop the spread, how to, keep it from spreading. And not only that, but how do it even if you don't have medications. Like when I used to teach the course, so you have roughly 30 some odd vaccine preventable diseases, give or take. All right. And I would always ask my students, if you could pick one vaccine, you're going worldwide, you could only pick one vaccine, what would it be? And they'd always say like, oh, I'll take the yellow fever, I'll take anthrax, I'll take this, I'll take that, I'll take typhoid. And I would always come back to them and say, okay, like, all right, yellow fever, how do you stop? I mean, how does it spread? Mosquitoes, wear long sleeve, wear repellent, avoidance. How do you avoid typhoid? Same thing. How do you, as well as don't eat the bad food, cook your food right, boil your water, you avoid it. But there's one vaccine that you can take that you have the highest route of getting because it's a disease that is most comorbid with other diseases, and that's bacterial meningitis. It's the only vaccine I would take.
Now,
meningococcal.
Have I been spreading disinformation? Have you seen any of my podcasts, heard anything about me before today? I'm a long hauler. That's how I got invited into that group originally, because I was the very first person to openly talk about a medication called indomethacin.
I know what it is.
All right. I did the video Easter weekend, and a doctor from New York reached out to me and said, how in the fuck do you know about indomethacin? And I said, well, it's a funny story. Let's go back to when I was 30 years old, diagnosed with gout. And let's talk about the doctor that was on TV talking about hydroxychloroquine that said she treated patients with RA, rheumatoid arthritis, and lupus. Right. And for over 20 years, never seen any of the side effects that they were talking about. And I'm thinking, well, Jesus Christ, sorry, God, I just asked my doctor for it 4 days prior, and no one would give it to me because the FDA would not allow it for off-label use. Now, most people don't understand what off-label use stands for. Yeah, I know. I'm saying our audience.
Right.
So then this doctor that was on TV just so happened to mention, and I also treat patients for gout. And I said, oh, my eyeballs, because as a medic, pharmacology, and someone who worked in the pharmaceutical industry goes, well, hold on. So I did a little thing called Google, indomethacin and coronavirus. And what I was shocked to see was back in 2006, they'd already known from the original coronavirus outbreak of 2002 on a .NIH government website says...
I saw that article that you posted.
Very clearly, what does it state?
Yeah, it stated that it works, basically.
That is antiviral shredder, right? Is that pretty much the scientific jargon they put on that?
I believe that's, yeah, if I remember right, it said that it works against it. That's all I remember.
And that's how I got into the group. And since then, I'd had pharmacists and epidemiologists and biologists share with me documents that would make your head pin back with real-time studies that are going on in over 120 countries. And
well, another thing that gets me is that not only, so there's a naturopath that I follow. His name's Dr. Ben Lynch. I encourage anybody to go look at his stuff. He has a video that he put out, I think it was back in March. It's a few months ago, but He literally tells people, say, look, you don't need to take medication. Here's how you treat it. And he lists about 5 or 6 vitamins that you preload with and that you take on a regular basis. Well, case in point, my very close friend of mine that I've known since I was like 14 years of age, he lived with us for a while after his dad kicked him out of his house, and then he joined the Navy. But he sent a message, text us all saying, hey, I just got diagnosed with COVID-19. I immediately sent him the information from that naturopath. He felt within 2 days, he felt normal.
Now, can you list? I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break on the Dan the Messenger podcast. We were going to sign out, but Sean Clarke came on. He is a prior medic. And what was your credentials that currently make you someone that we need to hear from again? You stated it one more time. You worked in your fields.
Oh, I was a medic in the U.S. Army for 20 years. And I'm also have a degree in public health and community health. Health promotion, wellness management.
Health promotion,
wellness management.
Sounds like you might know what the hell you're talking about. We'll be right back on the Dan the Messenger podcast, brought to you by Hope #4 Humanity2020.com. Join us with our co-host Shady Spencer and producer and a special guest, Sean Clarke. Thank you. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Dan the Messenger podcast. This is a little bit of the extended edition, but you know what? On Wednesdays for long haulers, we don't care. Our whole goal is to get information out to help. As a patriot to our country, as a long hauler who's been going through this, I welcome any and all experts, epidemiologists, biologists, frontline workers, doctors that are using Math Plus protocols, different protocols to help in fighting off this epidemic/pandemic that is running through America. So Sean Clarke was just about to get into some preventative. I say this all the time. The best offense for this is a good defense. I've been stating since day one, D3 and zinc is their number 1, number 2 things to take daily, but he seems to have some more. So let's hear it for our long haulers. Because listen, anybody who's freaked out right now, let's give them some simple information. Go ahead. I'll let the expert talk.
Well, according to Ben Lynch, Dr. Ben Lynch, the naturopath, I can't remember the exact amount of dosages, but see if I can pull it. I have his video real quick. If I can pull it up real quick, I'll let you know.
Sure.
He lists these out very specifically.
Now, why vitamins? Why minerals? Why,
So one of the, in fact, one of the things that he's very specific about is, for instance, like this whole thing in the very beginning where they were like, oh, we got to lock down. Everybody stay inside. Don't do anything. You can't go outside. If you go outside, you got to wear. I live in a not rural area, but I live in a regular neighborhood. If I'm going to go work out in my yard, why do I need to wear a mask? I don't. Because what have they been saying? You can't stay 6 feet away, then wear a mask. I don't have anybody in my front yard. Why are these states saying, hey, you got to wear a mask if you just go outside your front door? That's a load of crap, in my opinion, and my humble opinion.
Now, hold on. I'm going to ask you a very serious question because I'm in some pretty serious groups. I'm in 3 private research groups. I'm the only civilian in all 3 groups. I guarantee you I am. And, one of the groups I'm in, and it's a very high-minded group of individuals that care, that spend 24 hours a day, have been doing this for months without a penny coming to them to try to break this. Right. I'm in heavy hitters. This isn't like some Google search group. These are the experts. Am I lying in saying that?
Oh, hell no.
Okay. So now you're about to explain to us, as a long hauler, I've already known this stuff, but as someone who's new to this, just tested positive COVID-19. I'm a mom. I'm worried about my kids. I don't know what the hell's going on. I've listened to the media speak out of both sides of their mouth. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It's real, it's fake. It's the boogeyman. It's the worst thing since the evil empire. I mean, what else can I say? The media's covered it this way. So now let's let the experts kind of give us a very simple approach to how you prevent, maintain, and keep your health with this virus. Go ahead, sir.
So here's another one. Like what I learned is, and even Dr. Ben Lynch talked about this, is that when you go outside, what are you gaining by going outside? You're getting vitamin D. Well, what is vitamin D? Vitamin D boosts your immunity. It's what it plays a part of. What a lot of people don't know, though, is that vitamin D reacts in the body more like a hormone than it does than the regular vitamin. Here's another thing that like even females need to understand, especially if you're postpartum, after you've had that first baby. It's a very high population of females that become vitamin D deficient. And their doctor says, oh, just go take this vitamin D. Well, they usually give them vitamin D2. It's the wrong vitamin. They need to be taking vitamin D3. And the other thing they don't do is that if they are a chronic vitamin D deficient, most medical providers don't do what a naturopath does. Well, a naturopath says you're being vitamin D deficient chronically, there's something else going on. Well, what's missing? It's magnesium. They're magnesium deficient. They're not vitamin D deficient because the magnesium puts the vitamin D where it's supposed to be and helps it stay there and convert, do what it's supposed to do. And he brings this up in some of his videos, but I got his video up here. I'm gonna listen to it real quick and then let you know. It's about 30 seconds long here.
And comments on Facebook, no mailed letters to Seeking Health, but it's lots of comments saying that, hey, Dr. Lynch, I utilized your protocol. Wow, unreal. And I think the biggest one here is the sleep one. At the first sign of sickness, you stop whatever it is you're doing and you go to bed. But ideally, you prepare your immune system prior to going to bed. You give your immune system the tools they need. And your immune system is not going to work as well if you're deficient in various things. And you already know them: vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E is good too, zinc, and these are powerful, very, very powerful. And your immune system, when it's amplified, it's using these up in huge amounts, and so you need more than you usually do. And there's a lot of fear over vitamin A, and I don't think there should be fear. There should be concern, but there shouldn't be fear. And you know, you gotta load your system. So zinc, we have a lozenge at Seeking Health, and it doesn't taste good, so you can just chew it and swallow it.
He's gonna go through them here real quick.
But you know, if you have an upper respiratory problem, you want to suck on it. So suck it up and tolerate the kind of bitterness. It's not that bad. And it's got a natural flavor to it. We use good natural flavors. When we say natural flavors at Seeking Health, it's natural flavor. It's not that bad, but it gets metallic because it's zinc. So I just dropped on my keyboard. It's you know, I took a bite out of it, but I haven't eaten recently. So zinc, if you take the zinc and you let it dissolve in your mouth, and what I would do is I would take the zinc last, and I think I've done that in the Facebook live video too. You take the zinc last and you just let it, you kind of chew on it, break it up, and just let it sit in your mouth, and you get all the zinc everywhere, and that will help you know, fight infections locally, and then get up in the upper airway, and then you know, get in the gut too, and then your blood. So, but I didn't bring my glass in here, and I wish I did because I'm thirsty. But optimal vitamin C, there's I think it's called, I don't know what the article would be called, but you want to take quite a bit of vitamin C. But I will tell you that if you take too much, you're going to get diarrhea. So you can start with the serving size of a teaspoon, and that's pretty significant. That's 2.5 grams of ascorbic acid, and it's got some other flavonoids in here too, asparagine and quercetin and rutin. Okay, and I'm actually working on improving this formula even better right now. But it's 2.5 grams of vitamin C per teaspoon for this, and it tastes really, really good. So, and I would put it in a water bottle right next to your bed, and I would drink, and I would be drinking it all day. If you start hearing rumbling or you start getting gassy, you're taking too much. So I wouldn't chug this. I'd drink it throughout the day. I would probably have 2.5, grams, spread out over, an hour or two, and then another 2.5 grams, another 2.5 grams. And again, keep in mind, you're using the vitamin C as a pro-oxidant, so you want to derive as much vitamin C as you can. If you don't want to do the powder for various reasons, but it's good that you do the powder because you're hydrating. You're not only getting the vitamin C, you're getting water.
I'll pause this. This is why I like this guy. People think, oh, naturopaths, they're just the current modern day witch doctors. But when you have a gentleman like that says, you're taking a vitamin and you're hydrating, this is not somebody that's just talking out of his butt.
Well, we're all prior service here, and we know one of the most important things that they beat into you at a very young age is water.
Hydrate.
And it doesn't leave you. I mean,
take Motrin and take a knee and drink water.
That's right. And change your socks. We know. Change your sock. Oh, here's some tussin for you too. Don't worry, you're bleeding out.
If you want, this is going to go on for a few more minutes. And
no, listen. You are sharing information to the audience. We have
I'll send you the link to this also. If you
Please
want.
do.
But I'll play this.
When you're sick and you have fever, you're dehydrating yourself. But you can also do the liposomal C, or you can do this in combination with that, because 1 teaspoon of this is 1 gram of vitamin C, and it's liposomal. And viruses typically love to live inside your cells. And so with the liposomal vitamin C, you're going to be able to drive the vitamin C better to get inside your cells. So actually, having said that, I would do this to drink while you're hydrating, especially great for sauna or bath, or just in general. And then this to help drive it inside your cells, because your viruses love to hang out in there. So now, I'm not going to get to that. I'll wait on that. So since it's a upper respiratory infection, there are times when I like NAC. NAC, if you are struggling with a mucousy, thicker cough that's the congestion is stuck there, and you know it's a wet cough and it's not coming up or else not breaking out, it's not a dry cough. If you're taking NAC with a dry cough and it becomes wet, great. But if you have a dry cough that's after a wet cough, you probably shouldn't be taking NAC. NAC is a mucolytic, so it breaks mucus. So it's phenomenal for sinus congestion. It's great for lung issues. NAC, also people use it to help build glutathione. The research does show that it works, but I rather just take liposomal glutathione or S-acetylglutathione. But anyway, NAC is phenomenal. Best taking in the morning and the afternoon if you have a wet cough, because it helps break up the mucus in your lungs, and you will experience that. You basically will do 500 milligrams 3 times a day, but I would skip the evening one, because what happens sometimes, people will do NAC, and I've done this as a dad to my kids. I can't tell you how many times with the NAC, but they take the NAC and then they're coughing all night. And how's that helping their immune system? Because now I've broken up the mucus and they're coughing and they're spitting out their mucus, which is great, all this sputum, but it's not helping their sleep. So do the NAC in the morning, in the afternoon, and do not do it if you really have a productive cough now, because NAC, don't do it in the evening so you can fall asleep. In fact, if the cough is pretty significant, get a humidifier in the bedroom and add filtered water so you're not aerosolizing chlorine, and add some essential oils in there that are good quality, and then add some little salt. So more salt you add, the more steam will come out of the humidifier, and that steam, especially for things like whooping cough, will help calm the whooping cough down. It'll help soothe your lungs, because your lungs love to be hydrated. And post lung infection, so let's say you had the coronavirus and you got over it, and it was a lung infection. You have a huge amount of glutathione found inside your lungs. Post infection, that glutathione level is down. It's all used up, and your lungs now need some love. And so you can use NAC if you want, because it's cheaper to drive the glutathione up. But I would much rather you actually use glutathione liposomal itself, rather than NAC. It's better for various reasons. There's a lot of genetics involved with converting NAC to glutathione. I've done Facebook Lives on that. I talk about it in my book, Dirty Genes. I don't think I brought that bottle, even though my wife gave it to me, or did I? No, I didn't. Stupid. But we have a new capsule of glutathione called Optimal Glutathione Plus. It's basically this without the liposomal, but again, viruses live inside your cells often. So when you drive the glutathione into the system, this will also help support that. But I don't like using glutathione now. My opinion might change later based upon research, but I do not like using glutathione during sickness. Why? Because it's an antioxidant. An antioxidant gets rid of hydrogen peroxide. I love using glutathione, on days where I'm exposed to, chlorine or jet fuels or chemicals, or I just feel like I need it, or prior to sauna. Fabulous. But while I'm sick, and to prevent sickness, but while I'm sick, I do not use glutathione, but I will use it after I'm sick. And because you don't want to quench oxygen species while you're sick. Okay. I've talked about this a ton. Vitamin A drops. We have, I think, 3 or 4 bottles in our home all the time. I love this stuff, and we have lots in stock, so you should be good. So I'm sorry that we've run out multiple times before when I talk about this, but we should be good now. Chad is got a lot for you. Now, a good thing about our vitamin A drops that might be different than others is it's micellized. So the vitamin A is in little tiny little particles. So it's much easier for your body to absorb. It's much easier to penetrate. I don't know if it gets in the cells or not. If it's micellized, I'm not sure. But it's a lot easier to absorb, and it's more effective. If you just buy liquid vitamin A that's not micellized, you might not get as good as a result out of it. So the results people are getting from the vitamin A drops is very, very good. You can read the reviews. You can watch the vitamin A Facebook Live that I've done on that as well. Vitamin A can cause toxicity. If you're pregnant, I would just do 1 drop. Our optimal prenatal already has a solid amount of vitamin A in it. If you are pregnant and you are sick and you are taking optimal prenatal, but you're currently fighting infection, I would say that I would take an additional 1 drop because your body is going to need it to fight the infection. So, I would say take 1 drop of this if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. And if you have kids, young kids, I give them 1 drop as well. So I talked about if you have a onset of an infection and you're just starting to feel sick, let's say you're walking down the aisle and Albertsons or Safeway, you're like, oh, you just caught that cold or you caught that virus, and you're just like, okay, I got to go home. You come home, you take 100,000 units of this. It's 5,000 IUs. So we talk about micrograms now right here. So that's the new FDA labeling laws. So 1,500 micrograms is 1 drop, which equates to 5,025, I'm thinking, but it's on our website, 5,000 IUs per drop. It's potent. So 20 drops is 100,000 IUs. So at the onset of sickness, if you are not currently supplementing with higher amounts of vitamin A, either cod liver oil or eating liver or other high vitamin A containing foods, I'm not talking beta carotene, I'm not talking carrots here. The carrots are a different animal, different veggie. But 100,000 units at the onset of sickness, I know it sounds like a lot, but I've been recommending this for a long, long time. And I learned it from a doctor who was in the 70s when he told me, and he was doing it for a long, long time. So you do the 100,000 units for 3 days, you stop. You stop. And that's an adult dose. So 18 and up, that's an adult dose. So again, pregnant and breastfeeding I talked about, young kids, just 1 drop. The vitamin D, we have a D3K2. I'm not sure if it's out of quarantine yet in our warehouse, but we have a D3K2. If you want to have K2 with your D3, you're already supplementing with vitamin K2. You don't necessarily need to have K2 with your vitamin D, so you can just take the optimal vitamin D. Each drop of this, we make potent stuff. Each drop of this is 2,000 IUs of vitamin D3 and just olive oil. That's it, just olive oil. And so I would do 50,000 units of this, and you know, check your D levels. And because if there are times when doctors will recommend vitamin D for you and you don't have enough K, or they'll just recommend a lot of D and you have sufficient K, but your calcium levels still drive up. So you can get too much blood calcium from taking too much vitamin D. So, you know, I do 50 to 100,000 units of optimal vitamin D for, you know, again, 3 days and then stop. And you will notice that the duration of your sickness just goes down, okay? And you're not gonna take this as a preventative. You don't take high amounts of the vitamin A or the vitamin D when you're just thinking, oh, well, I'm gonna take 100,000 units of vitamin A. I feel good, but I'm gonna take it as a precautionary measure against the coronavirus or other sickness. No, don't do that. At the start of an onset of feeling like you're going to get sick, your immune system is ramping up, and your vitamin A will be utilized by that ramping up the immune system. I don't want you taking huge amounts of these vitamins if you're feeling good. Just take your multivitamin, multimineral. Probiotics, massively important. Whatever probiotic you're using that you like, use it because your beneficial micro.
That was the main part of it there. The
Yeah,
vitamin A, the vitamin D, and the vitamin C, and the zinc.
so we will have. Can you possibly reach out? Do you know him personally? Or
I do not. I follow him on Instagram and on Facebook.
I try to do this because I've been talking about this for months. Vitamins and mineral. I mean, I've shared and shared and shared and shared, and having actual people who are on the front lines using this, who are treating patients, I would like to really get them on to get their perspective. Doctors tend to get into doctor talk, and you know, the average public has never had pharmacology, let alone understanding anatomy and physiology. And I try to dumb it down, not in the sense of calling people dumb, but I try to simplify the words so it's understanding. You got to understand right now, a lot of Americans are scared shitless. They are.
Yeah.
And they are looking for anything underneath the sun to get help. And they seem to be getting failed in the front lines. And I don't blame the frontline workers. I blame the media more than anything else for a lot of disinformation that has,
Right.
I say they've been talking out of both sides of their mouth. They've been telling them two different sides of the story that don't add up. And people like us who've been in the medical background, who've treated patients, who understand this simple idea of the best offense is a good defense. And then if you're sick, your immune system is the most important thing to deal with anything. And if you have a weakened immune system and you're fighting a very nasty virus, well, it's not a good outcome. It's just that simple. Am I lying?
Oh, it's exactly true. It's like, you know, you've heard the stories about the, you know, all the anti-vaxxers and everything like that. Well, I used to get mothers that would come in with like first child, new baby, you know, they come in for their 2-month appointment and they have all these vaccines that are on this schedule. And a lot of people think, oh, they're required. No, they're by law, that's just the guidance. There are some that are required. They are only required if they're going into a daycare or into school by law. All right. Now, here's the thing. Like I would get mothers that saying, oh, you know, I'm afraid of this and stuff like that. Well, I would just say, look, they don't have to get every single vaccine today. We could put them on an alternate schedule, and they can, instead of coming in every 2 months, you can come in every 3 to 4 weeks. She's like, we can do that? I'm like, yeah, you can do that. Here's the one you have to get first, and then we'll come in for the others later. Like, do we absolutely positively have to have polio here in the United States? No, it's eradicated here in the United States. So I would tell them, we can wait on the polio. You know, and then I would give them a couple that, the two that they wouldn't, the one that they absolutely need is the DTaP, diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. And I say, just get them just this one. It's the one that causes the most pain. Get this one done, get out of the way, and then come back every few weeks to get the others. We can do 2 every now and then, the ones that like polio and the Hib, and it would just go from there. And I would get more mothers to agree to the vaccines that way than to say, oh, I'm never going to do these at all. It's education. It's the correct education. Like you said, it's the disinformation that's keeping people scared. If you give the correct information and you empower people to their correct information, then they'll make their own informed decisions.
And I'm thankful that you came on today, Sean. And will you come back on again? Because I'd like to have a little more preparedness. And it's good to have someone who is a frontline worker who has a background in your background to help educate. You know, there's a saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I've been saying this since my very first video. This virus is not going anywhere. Not that I wish it upon anybody, but the contagion, the R naught factor of this is 2.5 to 3.5. That's very high. It is airborne. It is bloodborne. That is something that we haven't seen, I don't think, in our lifetime. You know,
not out of one disease.
And so that's a big deal. And I've been saying that since I found out all the facts and trying to educate. And it wasn't like Shady and I had a magic ball going hocus pocus alakazam. Here comes November. Watch out, man. No, these groups had been warning me for months that this is not going anywhere because we weren't mitigating it properly in the beginning. No matter how we say it, we are 40% of America is unhealthy. Unfortunately for African-American community and the Latino community, they're 4 times more susceptible to this virus. It's a known fact. It's not made up. They know this. It's genetics. It's our diet. And the best offense for this virus is a good defense. What our man just shared with us is a lot of very informal information. Do your own research. Talk to your doctors. I always say this. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I'm just a long hauler who has been screaming at the top of my lungs to try to advocate for Americans and people across the world to understand how to treat this, how to prevent this. If you do have it, how do you get through it? And how do we come together as a society to stop the bullshit?
Right.
That's end of story, period. What else do you have to say? Because this has been a very long episode, and Shady has a lot of editing to do once we get this one up.
One last thing, because you mentioned something real quick there, and you talking about our diet. All right. My stepdaughter has a friend of hers that is from Germany, and her dad is from the United States, and they would travel. And so my stepdaughter's dad and this girl's dad are best friends. They've known each other since elementary. So whenever he comes back to the United States, because he's an opera singer, they would visit. And the girl was like, oh, they would go to the store and she would get like all the junk food because they can't get it in Germany. You can't get Pop-Tarts in Germany. You can't get stuff like that in the grocery stores in Germany. You can't. You have to order it from somewhere else or get somebody to send it to you. There was a gentleman, his name's Dr. Peter Attia. He was on the Jocko podcast a number of years ago. And in his interview, one thing that stuck out to me, what he stated was, if it's packaged, don't eat it. So, and this guy Dr. Peter Attia is a Johns Hopkins fellow in surgery. And it's kind of interesting. He left medicine because of patients, but because of diabetics, believe it or not. But it was pre-diabetic symptoms that brought him back into medicine. It was weird. His story is very unique. It's very interesting to listen to. I encourage anybody to go listen to it. But that's one, like, because you mentioned diet.
Oh, well, I worked for a company called Gentech Pharmaceutical. Okay, I worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm not an idiot. I would advocate back in 2012 that 30% of our population was either diabetic or pre-diabetic. Now we're at 40%.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's something going wrong from the 1950s to now, and we know what it is. The hidden elephant in the room is our fucking food, and they know that they've been putting a lot of stuff in there. Go ahead.
But now that you brought that up, the percentage of the population in the United States that's diabetic or pre-diabetic, that's something that I didn't think about it till you just mentioned it. What's the percentage of the death rate in COVID that were diabetic or pre-diabetic? And that would be the direct correlation of what? The freaking food that we eat. We eat from the center of the grocery store instead of the perimeter.
Oh, I know. So I learned a lot of movies like What the Health documentaries, and that was part of what I was studying back in 2012 was our food. We are what we eat. It's that simple. You put shit in, you get shit out. And unfortunately, this is the hangover of living through cheap processed foods. Now we have a pandemic that is exposing us because our immune systems are compromised. Period. In the story. If we were 1950s healthy America, this pandemic wouldn't be a quarter of what it is because we'd be more susceptible fighting off. Am I accurate in saying that? Is that far from the cuff, Sean?
Oh, no, you're not. In fact, when I was in my nutrition class, our doctor of nutrition, she played a video. It was a documentary, and it was done by Katie Couric, and it was about sugar. And
I remember it. I can't think of the name of it. I
you know
know
which one? So you've seen that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And another thing is like what people don't realize is that this goes back to all the way back into the 70s with President Nixon and high fructose corn syrup.
Yes.
And people don't realize that they did a study of brain waves. This was done by psychiatrists in the effects of the neurotransmitters in the brain and how identical high fructose corn syrup is to cocaine.
Yes, I know. And most people don't even understand that lithium, I think it's lithium. I can't remember whatever they're giving the kids. I'm pretty sure it was lithium. The chemical structure of it, if you put cocaine and lithium next to each other, they're identical. One is synthetic and the other one is produced. So stop giving your kids.
Yeah, it's like plastic and margarine.
Oh yeah.
I can quit taking cocaine and just eat high fructose corn syrup and I'm good.
Well, and that's true, Sean. The industry is so smart; they keep changing the terminology from fructose to it's all got some.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we're exposing a lot of the ugliness in corporate America that has been making money hand over fist and fattening us up as guinea pigs. But it's the truth, and this is where. Go ahead.
Here's another one. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no.
So like another study that was done. So why in the 80s, when all the diet drinks came out, were people still getting fat? So here's the reason. So what happens is when you eat or drink something with a lot of sugar, all right, it signals your liver, all right, to, hey, I've got more fat coming in than I can handle. I've got to go store it with sugar, all right? So your body has been trained to respond to a taste, not to a chemical, to a taste, right? So what happens? They change the content to another chemical from sugar to a diet, but what is it? It still tastes sweet. So people think, oh, I can drink diet now, but I can drink more. So they're still drinking it and they get the sweet taste. Well, your liver is already trained that as soon as you get that sweet taste, store it as fat. So people were still getting fat. And that was in a study.
Yeah. And because I didn't publicly talk about it when I worked for Gentech, the amount of training that was going on behind the scenes was immense. And all those documentaries were part of the training because we had to understand systemically what was going on in America. We had to understand when we were educating these doctors up of what you need to do to help your patients, not only take medicine, but get them off the medicine. I wasn't trying to advocate lifelong medication usage. We used a synthetic geranium extract that combined with a few other active ingredients made you lose weight. But I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to keep you on a diet pill. That's the wonder pill. I watched the FDA come in and squash us like a bug because we took a bite out of Adderall's ass. Pfizer, our friendly, Pfizer loves us, Shady. They should be our main sponsor because we talk about them enough. And we don't give, no F's given when we talk about Pfizer. They spend $1 billion a year on R&D for long-term treatment care that's going to make the money hand over fist. When I seen them hijack a long haulers group, when I seen them hijack a conference, and they brought their number one guy, Sean, Their number one guy in R&D across the board of all their drugs went to this long hauler session to be a guest speaker. Now, does Pfizer just throw their number one guy into a speak? No, come on. Like, we expose them for who they are, and they hate our guts, which is fine. But the doctors, the frontline workers, the epidemiologists, virologists, people like you, Sean, coming on this show, are going to expose them for who they really are, and we're going to beat this. And that's why our whole starting of our show starts off, we will win. No matter what, we survived. World War I, World War II. We are Americans. We are patriots. So we're not here to scare the shit out of you. We're here to scare you straight and help you get through this. And Sean, you're more than welcome to come back anytime. Hope for Humanity, Hope number 4 Humanity 2020.com is our charity. I founded in May. I knew nothing was going anywhere. You're more than welcome to come on as a member. Listen, we need advocates. We need experts. We need all the help we can get. All hands on deck. These groups, start inviting the guys in. Gunther, we know who they are. I know they keep their privacy for a reason. I respect it. The medical documents that I get from some of, not our group, but I get another group where they shared a lot with me. That's real-time, accurate data. We're doing a whistleblower episode next Wednesday, meaning because long haulers, it goes in stages. If you have a virus and you don't let it get treated in your system, what happens, Sean?
It gets worse.
Why? Hold on. I was told in the news it just goes away like a cold. That's what I was told, right?
Yeah. Well, like a cold or you're going to die, one or the other. It's one extreme to the other.
And I keep getting asked, well, why? Well, I say there's different strands. Am I lying when I say there's different strands?
No, I went to high school with a gentleman now who's a hematologist. And he's the director, I won't say his name or the company, but he's the director of World Health, of their global health. He's the VP director of their global health division. And last I heard from him, there's over 30 strands of the COVID-19.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was in a group when they did a live virologist was talking about the strands. She disappeared. I thought they killed her. And then she popped up in the news 5 months later, and I'm being told it's political. I'm like, no. Epidemiologists and virologists are not fucking political. They took an oath, and they're trying to get information out there. I said there were over 36 known strains at the time. This was 5 months ago. And
Right.
now we know in Texas alone that they genomed it, and there's over 5,000 different mutations. And I say it's not the 99%, it's the 1% mutation that could be an issue for us. Am I often saying that?
No, but here's the other thing a lot of people don't realize, and I think this is where it's good information and bad information depending on who uses it. So coronavirus, the term coronavirus, you could say for SARS, SARS-2, and a couple others, coronavirus is like the family name.
Yep.
What a lot of people don't realize is that the common cold is actually a coronavirus.
Yes. And that's where the news have used that to.
That's part of those 5,000 genomes of coronavirus.
Correct.
But as far as COVID-19 goes, or SARS-CoV-2, coronavirus 2, I don't know about, I haven't heard about the 5,000 strands, but just for COVID-19, I know it's over 30 strands. That's the last information I saw.
Yeah, over 30 strands is what I got 5 months ago, and the mutations is what I got. The genome of saying there's 5 different variants, 5,000 different variances that they found. Not strands, but there's a better terminology for it, and there's a study up for it. I'm not trying to scare anybody. There are different strands. That's why it is affecting people differently. Am I accurate in saying that? When you have 36 different strands, they can act differently, can't they?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's going to affect different people differently. It doesn't matter because everybody has underlying unknowns that nobody knows about, even themselves. It's that unknown unknown.
Genetics.
Exactly. But even then, you could be supposedly no problems genetically, but as we age, our bodies change. So you could have somebody that's totally healthy and come down with it, like a gentleman that my wife knows who was an instructor in the EMS department up in the Northeast. He was in the hospital for 45 days and had to learn how to walk again and was totally healthy. And he came down positive for COVID.
Now, can I ask you, do you think the timeline's accurate
As
when this
far as,
came out?
no, I don't. And here's why I say this. My brother, his youngest, is a cheerleader. All right, and she is on a nationally ranked cheerleading squad. So they travel the nation to go to all these cheer competitions. They went to one last, I want to say said September, late September, early October last year. And even though, all these mothers and parents are on these text groups nationwide, well, after this one cheer competition, within a matter of a couple weeks, I mean, everybody at the same time, all these children are coming down with a respiratory sickness, all at the same time, not a sporadic, and it wasn't the flu. And my brother had a respiratory issue in December, and he's had the flu. He was in the military too. He's had the flu before. He's had the common cold before. He said this was not the flu, and it was not like the common cold. So I think this can go back even to September, October last year.
Well, I had a surgery. I was in an accident. I had surgery, and on my records, you can see where I had all COVID symptoms: tachycardia, bed sweats. 6 weeks later, a lot of the underlying neurological issues on top of the brain damage I had were popping up with PTSD. My memory was getting worse. I'm mimicking sundowners or Alzheimer's, a lot of stuff. And I've been fortunate enough to be going through treatment through Dr. Roselle at the Mind Spa, who is a senior fellow in QEEG, brain mapping and treatment. So since June, I've been getting brain mapping and treatment on my brain, and we followed the pathology. I'm one of maybe a dozen people in the United States that's had their brain mapped and treated twice. And I can show the pathology of this with brain fog and a lot of the underlying issues. So I'm going to cut this off because we've been doing this for almost 2 hours, and I know Shady's going to hate my guts. But we can, Shady, let's break this into 2 episodes, Shady. Can we do that?
I'll work on it. Yep.
I'm sorry I stretched you out a little longer, Shady.
No.
It's all good.
Don't be sorry, Sean, because we have been dying to have people on the front line or people who are experts in their fields to come on. And a lot have not because they don't want the exposure or they don't want to get in trouble in their industry.
I'm retired. I'm not working right now. And it's like, I wish I was working right now, but I'm being very picky in who I'm looking at right now.
So you have an open invite. Would you like to come back on the show next Wednesday with us?
If I can. I've got kids at home doing school, but if my daughter doesn't need the computer for work because she does graphic design on this one, then I'll be on.
Well, we use help on all avenues. We're not too proud to beg for help. We're not, the charity Hope Number 4 Humanity is here to help us. Hope for Humanity 2020 is here to help long haulers, recently diagnosed. All stages of this virus need to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed faster than later. It's not going anywhere. Do you agree with me? Is it going anywhere?
It's my wife asked me, it's like, so my prediction before this is not considered a national public problem would be like 3 to 5 years. All right. It could still be an issue, but it's not going to be a no longer considered you could say a pandemic. It's my guess it's going to be 3 to 5 years. And so people will call me bullshit on that, but I made a comment multiple times back into February, beginning of February, excuse me. I sat there after we heard about it on the State of the Union address. I told my wife, I said, look, it's going to be a matter of time that as soon as because this is in China, and a lot of family members in China have family members in Korea, it's going to get to Seoul. As soon as it gets to Seoul, it's going to go worldwide. And sure enough, it did. So
we're not magicians. We weren't going hocus pocus. You were going through a thought process of how viruses spread.
Right. And I knew about the thing in Korea because I've been to Korea 3 times. I knew that a lot of family members, they travel back and forth between China and Korea.
So, all right, I'm positive. I'm an not HIV. I am a long hauler with coronavirus and have been suffering the long-term symptoms. I mean, every one of them, I've been ahead of the stage. Am I like to use the analogy of being a cancer patient. I already have it. My immune system is weakened. Yes, I could possibly catch another strain, but with all the underlying issues I have and knowing how infectious this is, we don't cover eyeballs. I keep saying this. If you look at even the Ebola outbreak in the 76, or you watch a movie called And the Band Played On, if your eyeballs don't pop out of your head after you watch that movie, nothing's going to wake you up. Or if you watch the Dallas Buyers Club, you're going to get a little bit of understanding what long haulers are going through. My lungs are fried, and I'm working on them daily with treatments: sauna, hot sauna therapy, infrared sauna therapy, hydrotherapy, medications, cold laser therapy treatment, nano stem cell therapy. Like, you name it, I've been on it. And I appreciate you coming on, Sean. Please come back on. Can we exchange contact information and become Facebook friends, and hopefully get some of those guys in that group coming on the show? I
Yeah,
hope
sure.
for it. And I thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a long, we'll just make this a 2-part edition, Shady, okay? That way we can, get both in covered properly. And I thank you, Sean. Shady, what do you have to say? Like, he dropped a lot of knowledge on us.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot all at once, and just trying to, I don't know a lot of the terminologies, like you were saying, the doctor talk, but just from watching a lot of the different podcasts, watching the news, doing my own personal research on some of the stuff, it's a lot of information, it's a lot of important information, and with some of the stuff that you might have heard on this particular podcast, if something is if you're questioning something, look it up. That is, information is key to beating this. So you need to, you got to get the right information and do your own research, and kind of hone it in for yourself as well.
So Sean dropped a lot of good information on the best offense is a good defense for this. So take a listen to what that doctor he had on, his saying about the medications or the vitamins and minerals. Start educating yourself on how you take vitamins and minerals. Make sure you hydrate up. A gallon of water a day would be my goal if I was a human being right now. It'll help. It's like changing your oil in your car. If you're not getting fresh water in, and you're going to get sludgy when your body is fighting a virus, it's not the best ideal home for it to have a foully operating system in your body. So drink up your water, take your vitamins, your minerals. Tune into the Dan Messenger podcast. Sean Clarke, thank you for jumping in. Thank you for sharing these few doctors, and hopefully have you back on the show. Get the guys coming back on. Thank you for tuning into the Dan the Messenger dual episode podcast with Shady Spencer. Sean Clarke, you've been amazing. Thank you. Thank you a million times. Long haulers are going to thank you. Americans are going to thank you.
Appreciate it. I do all I can.
Hey, you're more than welcome. You're part of the family now. You jumped on. You come on anytime you want. Shady, do you agree with that?
Yep, works for me.
All right. Sean, thank you. Have a beautiful day, man.
Hey, you too.
All right. Thank you for tuning to the Dan the Messenger podcast, brought to you by Hope 4 Humanity 2020.com. You can find Dan the Messenger podcast. Shady, where can we find us at? How do I find us?
Anywhere that you download your favorite podcasts, we're listed on there. So if you want to check it out, we're on Spotify. You can use your Alexa. Just say, hey, Alexa, listen to Dan the Messenger podcast. It'll pop up. Google search it, and everywhere that it's listed, it'll pop up there as well.
And we are featured. We are featured top 10 podcast on the Podcast Playground, which is Shaquille O'Neal's, Gentry Thomas's baby. Is that correct?
That's correct. So they have Shaq Fu Radio and some other podcasts on there as well. They've got tons and tons of different podcasts from all across the spectrum there. So if you want to check that out and maybe find some other podcasts that you like as well, go to the Podcast Playground. It's a website there that'll have us listed on the as a featured podcast as well.
That's humbling. I mean, I think it's pretty cool that we're on a top 10 featured podcast, which, it's not about us. It's about the listening audience. So thank you guys. If you want to be a donation, go and donate. If you want to be a sponsor, contact any three of us, me, Mel, or Shady, and Sean Clarke. Did I get your information to keep? Is that okay? I'm a friend request you right now. And thank you very much. Thank you again. Audience, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please support us. Please keep coming, listening to what we're about on the Dan the Messenger podcast. And